Football has long been seen as a sport for men. The culture is shifting. In Chicago, there have been seismic changes, and for Coach Ray and Coach Mayfield, they have a deeply rooted love of the game that continues to grow.
The first thing that comes to mind when I say football is home. And I say that because football to me is everything. Everything that you do in football relates to life. Every lesson, every hit, every defeat, every win. It's everything.
It's 11 guys versus 11 guys. And then coaching, because you have to be able to train your players up to be able to read the play, understanding it's the playing of the game and the coaching of the game.
These two women have taken different, winding journeys to the gridiron.
I was visiting my aunt who lived in Harvey, and the boys on the block wanted to go play on the corner of 157th and Lexington, and I was the only girl outside. And that first hit, I fell in love. I continued to play, on the corner, sandlot football throughout my youth, and tried out actually in high school for my Thornridge High School Falcons football team, and I made it. But my dad at the time, he said no. When I started playing football, I was 6, and then I tried out for the Force when I was 34. When I first put the pads on, I felt on top of the world.
I would say football kind of sort of found me because my son at the time was 12, and he just kept bugging me like, I want to go play football with one of my friends. And I was kind of skeptical, but I liked the sport, so I was like, sure, why not?
6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I would always hear the voice of this deep, stern coach, and I was like, what coach is that? Coach Bibbs was the stern voice that I kept on hearing. And I wanted to know, I want to know what he knows.
Watch some of the practice, and eventually she started working with little kids. She worked well with the kids. I mean, the kids that basically didn't care if you male or female, as long as you can get them to point A to point B, win games.
My best friend at the time, Derek Crowder, was working as the assistant coach, offensive coordinator with Coach Frierson. They had started at Chicago Tech. I would go to their games and scream just scream, being that obnoxious fan.
All right, let's go!
Coach Frierson called and he said, well, why don't you try your hand out on the sidelines with us versus screaming at me from the stands? And so I did that for 2019, and I connected with the players.
Go get it! Go get it, Dwayne!
On the sidelines, they've become respected, skillful leaders, but even they had no idea that their paths would converge to make history in Chicago's public league.
COVID happened, and I get this phone call from Coach Cash, and she says, hey, we want to call you in for an interview. We're staffing for the 2021 season. Would you be interested? And I said, sure. And so they called me the next day and said, we're offering you the head coach position. And I was floored.
So I was nervous about how she would be received in trying to do her job. And then I thought about how our students received her. They loved her, and they initially came to the administration to ask for her to be their head coach.
The principal was just like, hey, I need for you to coach. Can you coach for me? And for the most part, I was like, no, I'm coaching already.
You gotta go, guys!
The more I saw the young men in the school, the more they would ask me football-related stuff. I always found myself teaching, So it just was like, yeah, I'm gonna take the job.
Hey, defense! Get in the 3-point stance, defense!
Because you got to realize a lot of the kids are single parent. So, them listening to a female is not that complicated.
Hey, Michael, let's go closer! Michael, closer!
Gately Stadium is no stranger to history, but on September 15th, DuSable and Fenger High Schools added a new chapter. The teams were led onto the field by the first 2 Black female varsity coaches in U.S. history.
It didn't register until the day I got that email that 2 ladies was gonna, battle it out on the gridiron.
It's really happening. We'll be the first in the state.
They are my future, so I have to pour into them so they can pour into me.
We're showing girls, if you want to be a coach, you can. And guess what? One day, it's going to be you're looking across the field at.
Before kickoff and between the camera flashes, the 2 coaches shared a moment, taking everything in together.
You are my sister. That's what we said to each other when we met it. For the coin toss, we're family. And so we introduced the boys and said we're family. So that's how we're gonna play.
I just told her I love her, and she just told me we did it. We did it. I'm grateful that she opened the door and, paved the way for, an African-American woman like me to be able to make history with her. She and I was out there doing something that at that moment no one else has ever done, to be out there on that field that day at that moment. Once it ends, once this day is over, it's like somebody else making history somewhere else. So it's like, don't ruin the moment,
Coach Ray and Coach Mayfield have bonded together in football's unique sisterhood. As they demonstrated, anything is possible on life's field of play.
Football isn't just a male sport. Anybody can learn how to play football. So yeah, I think the future is bright and there'll be a lot of more female coaches.
What I say to that young girl or that 34-year-old woman or any woman at the age of whatever they are that is interested in doing anything, you just have to go for it. Don't be scared because you may be the first. You're the first, you won't be the last.